What's up, everyone? Dan here, Crypto Capital Venture, January 25th, 2020. The infamous Bitcoin falling wedge extending back to June. Everybody remembers the swing high around $13,500. We're in this series of lower lows and lower highs since then. When will Bitcoin break the upper trend line of this falling wedge? What is next? Are we going to put in another lower low at the bottom of this falling wedge? Listen, I am very bullish on Bitcoin. So please, I don't want to see any bearish comments because I'm talking about any type of potential downtrend for Bitcoin. That's opportunity. We should all be aware of that. Let's jump in on the charts. The weekly chart, everybody charts this falling wedge differently. One thing is true. Everybody is consistently and simultaneously talking about the falling wedge. Here's how I'm charting this. I try and find the most consistent touching points of these wicks on the weekly chart, and we get this consistent pattern that is on the screen. And right now we are just below, on the weekly chart, you can see very clearly just below that upper trend line. Now, same thing on the daily chart, how we're charting that on with these, these wicks that are touching the upper trend line. Same exact thing on the daily chart. You can see we are just below that trend line. And then lastly, real quick, the same thing on the 4-hour chart. We are just below that trend line. So I just want to show you how I'm charting that. There's a lot of consistency in terms of these upper trend line touch points. But I want to show you what else I'm seeing, right? Because there's other things going on besides just this long-term pattern and even short-term patterns that we've been talking about. So let's open up the weekly chart. And on the RSI, I see a little bit of a downtrend, right? We see on the slower moving momentum oscillator, especially on this weekly chart, this downtrend. And I'm just looking and I'm wondering, well, when is Bitcoin going to find support in this downtrend? I don't think we're going to come down to the 40 line. I don't even think we're going to even come below this previous higher low on this momentum oscillator. But I think we have a little consolidation that is completely in play on this weekly chart. Same thing on this weekly stock RSI, quicker moving momentum oscillator. We have Bitcoin in an uptrend, but potentially getting ready for just a little bit of consolidation, right? Sideways action on the stock RSI, a little bit quicker momentum oscillator. Going over to the daily chart, looking at these momentum oscillators, I want to point this out. Same exact thing on the RSI, right? I had this charted in terms of these these higher lows on this Bitcoin RSI on the daily chart, and we've broken this trend line. So a same exact thing. I'm wondering and I'm waiting to see where's Bitcoin going to see support. If Bitcoin momentum comes down even more on this RSI, the slower moving daily momentum oscillator, guess what? Price is going to be moving down to make that happen. And that could be a $7,500 type of move, if not a little lower, that I've been just anticipating, right? I'm not bearish, but I'm anticipating a move like that. Now, looking at the daily chart as well, we can look at the MACD, and you see this MACD line just crossing over that signal line on this daily chart. Another potential sign that Bitcoin has a short-term consolidation, and it doesn't have to be something drastic or crazy, right? We could have just this kind of strong move here, and then just a quick regain, right? We don't even have to come down to zero on the histogram for Bitcoin to, make a consolidation move on that MACD. Now, on the 4-hour chart, what I want to talk about is something I tweeted about yesterday, and this is in terms of a pattern. I charted this falling wedge, right? On the 4-hour chart, it's not a huge falling wedge. And I actually talked about $7,500 incoming, the potential for $7,500 with a breakout through the bottom trend line of this falling wedge. I was getting comments of people that were basically, I guess they were trying to educate me that a falling wedge is bullish, as if I didn't know a falling wedge was bullish. But I just want to throw this out there. A falling wedge doesn't mean you're automatically 100% of the time getting a breakout to the upside. The reason I'm saying I have a sense that Bitcoin's breaking the downside is just because there are other things happening on the charts, namely some of those momentum oscillators we looked at, namely this long-term trend of lower lows and lower highs that Bitcoin's been having, right? And right now, if you look at this daily chart, and we can open up the daily chart, if I get out of there, you see Bitcoin is under this upper trend line, right? And we see what happens when Bitcoin sees resistance at this upper trend line. The lower high setup, it looks like a falling wedge, right? Look at this, a falling wedge and then a break out to the bottom. So just because we had a falling wedge back here doesn't mean we got a bullish break, right? And it's the same thing here. So be careful when you're just using technical indicators like a falling wedge and you're just saying, hey, Bitcoin's bullish, it's a falling wedge. That's not how this works. There are so many other things in play. So though you have a maybe 75%, if that, maybe 70% chance of Bitcoin breaking through the upper trend line of a falling wedge, in this case, I think those chances are actually swapped a little bit. I think there's more of a 70% chance with all these other indicators and where Bitcoin is, that Bitcoin's going to make a move down next, right? So at the end of the day, nobody knows. This is kind of what technical analysis is. It's to look at the upside and downside potential, even of bullish patterns. And so the downside potential, we have a breakout target of around $7,500, which is perfectly consistent with some other things we've been talking about, namely a Fibonacci retracement from that swing low to swing high and back down to a Fibonacci 786 to 618 support, right? This green channel. And you can see how this breakout target of $7,500 on the daily chart is almost perfectly confluent with this green support channel on this Fibonacci. And that goes down to around $7,300. Also confluent with this area is the 50 moving average on the daily chart, right around $7,600, $7,700. This blue line, another awesome area for Bitcoin to test, because if Bitcoin, since breaking through that 50 moving average at the beginning of January, breaks through, comes back down and sees support at the 50 moving average at around $7,500, $7,600, then we're looking at a bullish setup for Bitcoin to finally break through the upper trend line. Patience, everybody. And when I'm talking about little retracements, don't throw these bearish terms and call me bearish, please, because I am always bullish, long-term bullish on Bitcoin. I want to be ready I want to be ready and anticipating any pullback for Bitcoin. So like when I'm doing targets to the downside, it's not because I want it to happen. It's because I want to be ready when it happens, right? We want to buy the dips. We don't want to be buying the swing highs of Bitcoin. You don't want to buy the top of all these higher or these lower highs on this falling wedge. You really want to be buying these dips that Bitcoin has, whether it's at the bottom of the wedge, in the middle of the wedge at support before a breakout. And that's why we do technical analysis. Those are my thoughts today on Bitcoin, Saturday, January 25th. I hope you're enjoying your weekend. Get out there. I know we're all refreshing the charts. We're waiting for a move on Bitcoin, but enjoy your weekend. I really appreciate you coming by. If you're here and you're not a subscriber, it would mean a lot to me if you hit that subscribe button, hit the like button on your way out if you got any value from this video. I will see you in the next video. Have an awesome day, and God bless.